Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's jump straight into a massive asymmetry that's quietly hurting your veterinary clinic's local pack rankings. And, to be honest, your staff's daily morale. Look, if you're an independent vet clinic owner or a practice manager, you already know Google reviews are basically the lifeblood of new patient bookings, right? But there's a fundamental flaw in how most practices ask for them, and it all boils down to timing. Today, we're focusing entirely on exactly when a vet clinic should ask for review and why that standard one-size-fits-all delay is literally costing you your absolute best feedback. This brilliantly illustrates your daily reality. On one side, we have the silent 99%. You know them. These are your happy clients who walk out the door, totally thrilled with your care, but they just move on in complete silence. And on the flip side, the 1%. These are the unhappy, frustrated clients who are practically drafting their complaints while they're still sitting in your waiting room. That 1% is writing reviews completely unprompted. And if you aren't actively prompting that 99% at the absolute perfect moment, well, that vocal 1% is going to unfairly define your clinic's entire public reputation. Section 1, the silent 99%. Let's figure out what's going on here. To fix this crippling imbalance, we first need to understand the structural reasons why these happy clients aren't leaving reviews in the first place. Honestly, it's not because they're ungrateful and it's not because they're lazy. It's purely structural. The crucial point here is that a happy client's default state of attention is simply moving on. Think about it. They leave your clinic relieved their dog is okay, but then they've got to rush to a school pickup or run some errands. By dinner time, the warmth of that consult is already a fleeting memory. By Friday, forget about it. It's gone. Writing a review actually requires friction. You have to actively pull up Google, type out a coherent thought, and hit submit. An unhappy client already has that friction-heavy motivation. They're angry. A happy client just doesn't have that momentum, unless your practice prompts them correctly at exactly the right moment. Moving on to Section 2, why fixed delays fail. Now, what's really fascinating here is why the industry standard completely fails to solve this problem. Most generic review software tries to automate the ask, but does it in a way that totally ignores how veterinary medicine actually works. I mean, blasting every single client with an automated message exactly 3 days later, it means catching them at the completely wrong time. If they just came in for a simple vaccination, by day 3, that initial gratitude has completely evaporated. But if they had a complex surgery, by day 3, their pet might still be pretty groggy, and the owner is still highly anxious. You're either going to get crickets or a really worried half review. The alternative is targeting their emotional peak. This means actually matching the ask to the specific type of visit, catching them exactly when that relief truly sets in. All right, let's get into the core strategy. Section 3, the emotional peak map. This timeline is the absolute gold standard for when to send your review request. It accurately matches your ask to the specific psychological journey of the pet owner based on what actually happened in that exam room. Notice how routine visits, vaccinations, or a puppy's exciting first visit, those peak the very next day. It's a mild, happy feeling, so you really have to ask while it's fresh. But look at dental visits. Dental relief hits around day 5. Why? Well, that's usually when the pet is finally eating comfortably again, and the owner notices, hey, their breath is way better. For surgery and desexing, you want to wait 7 to 10 days. The emotional peak for a surgery client isn't the day they pick up their groggy dog. It's a week later when that dog has completely bounced back and is happily tearing around the lounge room. That is when their relief peaks. And then we have the worried, sick pet visits. For those highly stressful diagnostic visits, fear turning to relief is a massive, massive driver for glowing reviews. But again, timing is everything. You absolutely must wait a few days until the pet is actually visibly better at home. Hitting them up on the same day while they're still anxiously waiting to see if the medication works, total recipe for disaster. Just wait for that visible recovery, and that's when you'll capture their profound gratitude. Let's cover the most critical part of this entire map. Section 4. Exclusions and basic decency. Knowing when to ask is important, sure, but knowing when never to ask is what protects your clinic's soul. 0. 0 is exactly the number of times you should ever ask for a review following a euthanasia, a palliative care consult, or a poor prognosis visit. This is a matter of basic human decency, and honestly, it is completely non-negotiable. Sending an automated text to a grieving owner days after they just said goodbye to their best friend, that's a wound, not a nudge. It can destroy years of hard-earned goodwill in a single message. And really, this is exactly why a simple fixed delay blast system is so incredibly dangerous for vet clinics. So, knowing exactly when the digital message should arrive and who to exclude, that's really only half the battle. The big question is, how do we actually bridge this gap in the physical clinic before the client even walks out your door?
That brings us to Section 5, setting up the ask.
The true unlock here isn't just having the right software firing away in the background, it's what your reception and clinical teams say in those final 30 seconds of the consult. Setting expectations verbally before that digital message arrives can practically triple your response rate. But before we look at the specific scripts for your team, remember these ironclad rules for the front desk. First, you must ask everyone without playing favorites. Remember, you're trying to reach that silent 99%. Second, never filter by sentiment, meaning don't just ask the people who are overly glowing in the lobby. And third, absolutely never offer incentives. No discounts, no free nail trims for a review. Not only does that cheapen your relationship, but it directly violates Google's content policies and can absolutely get your profile penalized.
Okay, here is the perfect routine wellness script for your reception team. They just say, "You'll get a quick text from us if Bella's checkup went well." A couple of words mean a lot to a small practice like ours. It brilliantly sets things up because it's short, it's warm, it completely removes the pressure, and it sounds like a caring human being rather than some corporate retail prompt. It primes the client so that when that perfectly timed message arrives the very next day, they expect it and they genuinely want to help you out. Now contrast that with this sick visit script, which is deliberately softer. We don't tend to ask people who came in worried for a review, but if Bella turns the corner and you want to share later, we always appreciate it. This builds immense trust. You're actively acknowledging their anxiety instead of pushing a transactional request on them when they're stressed. By taking all the pressure off now, you drastically increase the likelihood that when the digital ask arrives a few days after visible recovery, they'll be eager to share exactly how you saved their pet. Of course, the practical reality here is that your busy reception and clinical team simply cannot manually track all these varying timelines across a full daybook, right? You can't expect a nurse to remember to manually text a dental client exactly 5 days later while also remembering to suppress a text for a palliative case. It's just not possible. That's why systems like the X18 Review Engine exist. The X18 Review Engine seamlessly automates this entire emotional peak mapping based on the console type. And most importantly, it strictly protects your clinic by automatically handling those crucial exclusions in the background. It takes the burden completely off your staff while ensuring the timing is always perfect. Which brings us to our final thoughts. By aligning your request with your client's genuine emotional peak and setting it up warmly at the front desk, you empower that silent majority to finally speak up. So you have to ask yourself, are you capturing the quiet gratitude of your 99%? Or are you just going to keep reacting to the noisy 1%? Which group will define your clinic's reputation tomorrow? The choice and the timing is entirely in your hands. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this really helps you build the incredible reputation your practice deserves.